Well. Guess who it is? It's John.
And Taylor.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the NYGunGuys. We have a lot to talk about today. We are, just to give a quick overview. Oh, first, thanks for tuning in.
As always.
Check out the other podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere. And check out all the social media. Sorry if I sound a little weird. I have a cold again.
Jesus, man.
So I had a cold. Then I
Okay.
gave it to my wife. My wife gave it back to me. We're just swapping colds.
Damn.
Look at
I didn't
this.
know you could get a cold through. Oh, shit. Please leave that in.
No.
I stumbled through the joke.
No.
Now you gotta leave that in.
I'm going to bleep it. I'm going to try and get a bleep.
All right.
That would
If you
be-
can't bleep it, then that's...
I'll cut it out.
No. Don't do that.
Yes. No.
So you had a cold. You have a cold.
Just pick it up right from there.
So you have a cold.
I do.
You have a cold.
I do. I have a
Okay.
cold, yeah. And that's why I sound weird. So we are going to talk about, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about Rittenhouse. We're going to talk about Andrew Coffey. We're going to talk about Chris Cuomo getting suspended because he's a dick. And we'll touch on that Arizona shooting.
No, it was Michigan.
With the guy in the wheelchair.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right, so,
Yeah. Oh, boy.
what did you think about the Rittenhouse verdict?
Listen, man, I thought the prosecutor was a total clown.
Yeah, he was a
They really
clown.
tried to make a straw man argument out of him playing video games and him shooting people.
my God.
And the whole narrative of the left where they're like, he crossed state lines and this, and this.
Well, it was all
with a
lies.
gun. I know. It was just
all
this
lies.
bullshit that people perpetuated. And it sounds good. When you say someone crosses state lines with a firearm, what?
With an assault rifle.
Yeah, like people cross
Right.
state lines with firearms all the time. That doesn't mean anything.
Well, he didn't even cross it with the firearm anyway.
he
The
didn't.
firearm was already where he was going to,
Right.
and he got it there. So no, he didn't. They also said that like his mom drove him to the riot, which also wasn't true.
Right.
They made it seem like he drove miles to get
Right.
there, but it was like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was
Like,
right.
just,
right
just
there.
ridiculous shit. And they were like, oh, he has no ties to the community. Lies. His
Right.
dad lived there, which means he lived there because his mom and dad are separated. So he ended up living there some of the time.
All
His
of
friends
this
were
came
there.
out-
He worked there.
Yeah, all this came out in the trial, and it disrupted the left's narrative.
Right.
Now, all they have to do is call him a white supremacist and try and get him. Oh man, I don't know if you heard this one about him. Allegedly, the left wants Arizona State University to to get rid of him as a student, but when
Right.
you look it up, he's just he enrolled for online classes.
Yeah.
So he's not even on the campus.
This kid can never have a normal life. And like, if anyone
Everyone's
thought,
calling him a white supremacist.
if anybody thought that this was over the day of the verdict, like, it's not.
No.
Like these people are gonna follow him for the rest of his life and just make his life hell.
Right.
That's why he needs to sue everybody for defamation and just fucking cash in.
In my opinion, and I think what's evidently true with a lot of people, is self-defense with a firearm was on trial.
Right.
Regardless of if he should have had the firearm, regardless of how the circumstances came to be,
Mm-hmm.
is self-defense with a firearm in that particular circumstance warranted?
Right.
And it shown that it was.
Well,
And-
we spoke about how he shouldn't have been there in the first place. None of them should have been there in the first place, but everybody was there. Everybody
Right.
found themselves there.
Why are
and-
you going to attack people? Why are you going to try to
Right.
hit people? Why are you going to pull a gun on somebody
Right.
that has a gun?
And a lot of people, not for nothing, say like he should have never had a gun there, or everyone would be alive. And I'm like, well, thank God he did have a gun there, or he would be fucking dead.
Right.
He would be dead.
You could argue it back and forth till you blew in the face,
Right.
but you can't change the fact of what happened.
You can't go back in time.
No,
Can't
no.
go back in time.
And you know what? Maybe if somebody could go back in time and be like, hey, dude, like, stay home. You know what I mean?
Well,
And that
his lawyer said that he spoke to him about it, and he said that if he was presented with going back, like if he knew what was going to happen, and they went back in time and they said, hey, do you still want to go? He would be like, absolutely not. Like, I would
Right.
not go.
Right.
He didn't go there with the intentions to kill somebody.
No.
People claim that he did based on shit that he said in the past and said after the fact, but none of those things actually matter because it had nothing to do with the people that were actually involved. So
Right.
he didn't go there with the intention to kill anybody. He stated on video to a reporter, like an independent like guy who was there, why he was there to protect that car place and to provide first aid.
Yeah. I know. And you know what, man? For everyone that says immediately the left came out and said it was a miscarriage of justice and how our justice system is broken and how, of course, if it was a black man, you would have known what would have happened, which what's with the whataboutisms? Like, that's not the way this shit works. But the next day, which will segue, I guess, into our next topic, the next day, a person of color, black gentleman, who fired at officers attempting to serve a warrant on his house, and unfortunately his girlfriend was killed by those officers.
Yeah, what happened?
The
officers made entry. He thought
somebody
there was a break-in. He used a firearm,
right?
An illegal firearm.
Shot
at the police. I guess the police shot back,
right?
Killing the girlfriend. And then
he was charged with attempted murder or murder for his girlfriend, and then first-degree attempted murder of a law enforcement officer and a bunch of other things. Andrew Coffey IV is his name, a black gentleman. The next day after the Rittenhouse trial, he was found not guilty of attempted murder of a law enforcement officer in the first degree and also for the murder of his girlfriend. I wonder how this justice system is so broken and so racist that a black gentleman shooting at law enforcement officers is found not guilty.
Yeah. I didn't hear much about that.
No, because it doesn't fit the narrative. The only time I heard about it was from people, let's just say on the right side, or the people that look at our justice system and say, hey man, it's not perfect. There have been really, really big miscarriages of justice, and there probably will be in the future. But in this particular instance, literally apples to apples, self-defense with a firearm, whether the firearm was legally obtained, whether the firearm was legally carried or owned, self-defense with a firearm is a right. And if you use that and you could defend it in court and you could prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you thought your life was in danger, it doesn't matter the circumstances.
I think that this really just shows that what do they say? Justice is blind.
Right.
In this case, yeah. I mean, I'm sure in the past they have had issues. I mean,
of course, there have been,
like you said, the really system is not
tragic
perfect.
Miscarriages of justice.
If you watched the Rittenhouse trial, there's no way that you think that this guy was, and that he was guilty. And anybody and there's a lot of people who are like, he's a murderer.
He's a white supremacist murderer.
It's like, dude, like you must have not watched it at all or watched the highlights on CNN because, dude, if you sat, like, I was into it, man. I watched most of it. I watched a lot of it. It's just so clear. Like,
I caught the highlights.
Even the people who fucking got shot by him, that one guy whose arm got fucking vaporized.
As he puts it, his bicep got vaporized.
Even he was basically up there saying, he said, like, everything short of, it was self-defense. Like, he was like, I pointed the gun at him and that's when he shot. My hands were not up. Like, like he tried to run. He said he didn't chase him, but he was going in the same direction, running in the same direction at him, but I wasn't chasing him. So short of him saying like, it was self-defense, they went up there and like you said, the prosecution they made a fool of themselves.
Right.
They
talking
were
about
clowns.
Exploding bullets. And then the judge had to clarify, well, do you mean hollow point expanding bullets or actual exploding? Because there are such things as exploding bullets.
Right.
Generally, they're like an incendiary tip or a, explosive tip. Which they're very hard to come by.
I didn't really even. It's funny because when I was listening to that line of questioning, and he was saying like, him using that type of bullet shows that he had a disregard for human life, and and Rittenhouse was pretty much like, I didn't. No, like I just had bullets, and
he had Full Metal Jacket bullets, I believe, in the gun. And you know what? Bullets, like for certain defensive situations, hollow points are better. But if he wasn't intending to take life,
exactly,
then it doesn't matter the kind of bullet you have in your gun.
I think that proves that he didn't intend there to go kill somebody. Because if you're sitting there and you're calculating what you're going to do, you might want to go with a hollow point because it's going to spread apart and do a lot of damage. But no, he did not sit there and make a calculated decision of I'm going to find the most destructive round that I can so I can kill people. No, like
he probably just bought the cheapest shit that he can get.
He had the cheapest ammo that he used to go to the range with, and he just
Which, by the way, he
Loaded it
had
up.
to use. I don't know if anyone caught this. He had to use the forward assist. The guy that got his bicep vaporized said that he re-racked the gun, and that did not happen. Kyle Rittenhouse, under testimony in the video, showed that he actually used the forward assist on the AR-15 to push the bolt home. And it's funny, there's an ongoing debate in like the AR community about, is the forward assist necessary? Even Eugene Stoner, the creator of the AR-15, little history here. Even Eugene Stoner, the creator of the AR-15, didn't want a forward assist on the gun, but it was a requirement of some high-ranking guy in the Army. But in this case, I guess
it helped.
Yeah, and the joke, the running joke is that he had a lower end AR, so he needed the forward assist. But honestly, man, like, he knew the gun, and he knew that he just had to jam that forward to get that round seated in the chamber. So just a little
could have saved his
note.
life.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Right.
And oh my God, the horrid trigger discipline by the prosecutor in the courtroom.
Dude, that was
and
great.
I get it. You're trying to prove a point with a firearm.
Well, it was theatrics.
But it was theatrics. But again, as we've learned, even with the fucking the prop gun that Alec Baldwin used, and not the prop gun, the real firearm that Alec Baldwin used. Don't point guns at people. Don't put your finger on the trigger.
Alec Baldwin is a fucking idiot.
Oh, and by the way, now it came out, Alec Baldwin was having an interview, and he's like, I never pulled the trigger on the gun.
Not possible.
No, I know, but this is literally what he was saying. I think it was with George Stephanopoulos. He had an interview, and he's like, no, I did not pull the trigger. And
bullshit.
He's like, even Stephanopoulos was like,
what?
He gave him this look like, what? But anyway, that's a little side note.
Yeah, he's covering his ass.
Exactly.
There.
We'll stick to the track here.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, this prosecutor, like, literally pointing guns at people, and like you said, it's theatrics. But if anyone is trying to prove disregard with a firearm, it's this fucking clown.
Well, I think that maybe that was a calculated decision that he made. He pointed it right at the jury.
Oh my God, I know. If I was in the jury, I'd be like, "Can you not point a fucking gun at me?"
Duck down.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you know what's funny too, because I saw a picture of that, and like on social media somewhere, I commented, and I was just like, "This guy's got terrible trigger discipline," and like the first comment was like, "The gun's not loaded," and I was like, "Now I know that you're just a fucking idiot,"
right?
Because everybody fucking knows, any responsible person who has handled a firearm knows you don't point a gun at anything that you're not willing to destroy. And a gun, you treat a gun as if it's always fucking loaded.
Always loaded. So
like, you're just automatically like, you're an idiot. And like, we shouldn't even have this conversation because you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing with that is most people who don't have firearms and who don't handle them don't know these things, and they don't think it's such a big deal. I mean, literally, dude, sometimes, like, I get a little on nerves sometimes, like, especially on old guns, like, when you have to look down the muzzle end of the barrel, like, with an old, like, I don't have any, obviously, but, like, speaking from things I've picked up and learned, old revolvers, in order to inspect the barrel, you can't look through the back of it, you have to turn it to the front and look, hold the gun up and look down, and obviously you make sure it's empty, but literally you're pointing a gun straight at your face.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, the cylinder is out of place too.
With certain guns, safety.
They're safe.
Right. You have to make sure they're safe 3 or 4 times, and then you can inspect. But again, there's rules put in place, and if you follow those rules, you'll never have a problem.
Right. Unless you're Alec Baldwin, then you're a fucking idiot.
Right.
And it's just great that he's like super anti-gun.
Oh my God, I know.
Like, he's so anti-gun that he just had to pick it up and fucking show someone how to play with it or use it.
Fuck knows, man.
This fucking
the story
guy.
is changing with him so much. With
no shit.
Yeah.
Because he fucking killed somebody. Now he's like on the hook for that.
Right.
Then right after that he called for the removal of all guns from all sets. We shouldn't need guns. We have CGI, dude. Shut the fuck up.
I know.
How like
you're just a backpedaling, covering up yourself.
You fucked up. You fucking killed somebody.
Yeah.
What? Like,
just own it.
Own it.
No, seriously, own it. Like, if he just said, like, this was a really bad mistake. I mean, obviously he would be admitting guilt at that point, which he's not going to.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that because
if he just
there was
said
a lot
it was
of things,
an accident,
and you know what? It sounds like it was an accident,
right?
But it was an accident that shouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
And first of all, I don't know why live ammo was even on a set anyway. There's never a need for live ammo, right? So that's the first kind of like a big red flag to me, anyway.
Right?
Why was there live ammo on a movie set? That's the first thing. Second thing is the prop master handed him the gun and yelled, according to what I heard, said "cold gun." the cold gun. The gun is not loaded or it's not hot,
Right.
And then instead of him checking it, he didn't, and he fucking pulled the trigger like a fucking idiot, killing somebody.
I wonder how much his stomach dropped at that moment. Like, when you fuck up with something,
I'm sure his balls sucked right up into his stomach.
Like when you're parking your car and you might love tap the car behind you, and you're just like, oh shit. I wonder.
You look in your rearview mirror to see if there's anybody in the car,
and you just pull away. No, we don't advocate for that here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh shit!
But
funny.
no, I mean, all joking aside, someone did pass away, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and it's just due to negligence with firearms. So yeah, So we learned so far on this podcast, John, that the justice system is racist.
But it's not.
Right, exactly.
And Alec Baldwin should teach everybody firearms handling.
Right.
Along with the prosecution.
Yeah, along with the prosecutor from the Rittenhouse case. And that actually Andrew Coffey IV, even though he got the charges of murder and attempted murder dropped, he's still facing charges for a convicted felon with a firearm.
Yeah, that's another thing. If this guy just didn't have a gun, this would have never happened.
True.
Again, it wouldn't have.
Right.
It wouldn't have.
If criminals follow the law?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Fuck, dude. That's fucking... I've never thought of that before.
I've never thought of it either.
Right.
I'm just saying, everyone's talking about, Kyle Rittenhouse should have never had a gun there. Okay, well, this guy shouldn't have had a fucking gun. Really shouldn't have had a gun.
Legally.
Shouldn't have had a gun.
With Rittenhouse, I think, I don't know if we looked it up, but the guy that got the gun for him is on the hook for a straw purchase. Because Kyle couldn't buy the firearm himself.
Right.
And this guy did, and that's a straw purchase, which is federally illegal, obviously.
Right.
But, like I said, regardless of the circumstances of how Kyle Rittenhouse did get the gun, the fact is that he used it in self-defense, and that the self-defense was justified.
Right.
You can't,
Well, the funny part is, he purchased it for him in preparation for him to turn 18, where he lives. Right. But technically, he was allowed to carry that firearm.
Technically, but the purchase... he could get the gun, he could carry the firearm, but the purchase of the firearm for him was illegal.
Right.
And I've read things online where people were saying, like some internet lawyers or whatever. If somebody says I'm a lawyer on the internet, I don't really believe it unless I look it up. But one guy was saying, like, comparing it to
really...
one guy was comparing it to if you got into a motor vehicle accident. And let's just say you were driving and you rear-ended a guy at a red light. But the guy who was sitting in front of you who got rear-ended was intoxicated. Right. Technically, it wouldn't be... He was saying something like the intoxicated person would be at fault because technically he shouldn't have been driving. And I'm like...
It's not really a straw purchase.
Well, it was. He didn't purchase it.
Well, here's the thing. That the other guy purchased that gun, quote, for Kyle Rittenhouse, but kept it in his possession, didn't give it to Kyle. But he was planning on transferring it to him once he turned 18. Right. So it's not because he's not a prohibited possessor and he didn't like buy it then walk out to the parking lot and give it to him.
He gave it to Kyle. If he waited until Kyle was 18, that's the whole thing. Kyle said that he gave in the trial. Kyle Rittenhouse said that he gave him the money because he wanted an AR-15 because it looked cool. Right. That's what he said. Right. So the intent of the person buying that firearm for him was a straw purchase. The first question, I think it's 11A. Are you the actual purchaser? Yeah. So he could say at that point, if really he was going to give it to him, he could say, yes, I'm the actual purchaser. And then when Kyle turned 18, I'm going to sell this gun to Kyle. Right. But that's not what happened. Kyle admitted in court that he gave this guy the money to buy because he wanted an AR-15. And the prosecutor was like, well, why do you want that gun? And Kyle's like, because it looks cool.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah. So again, I'm not going to defend.
But still, I mean, he said in the trial he bought it from me and was planning on giving it to me when I was 18. He said it in the trial.
But he bought it for him. That's the whole thing.
Right.
So whether or not, like, you could buy somebody to give a gun as a gift.
I don't think that's never going to go anywhere.
No, that's never going to go anywhere. They're not going to pursue it because they tried for the bigger charge.
They're never going to. This is not going to happen.
They tried
because even in court, they would.
I think they just want to like put this to bed now.
Well, they might still try and charge him just because. But no, I think even if it went to trial, I don't think they would get a conviction on that either. Because again, it's not like I give you the money, you go in, you buy it, you walk out in the parking lot, and you fucking hand it to me.
That is blatantly
right. But if you say like, hey, look, It'd be 18 and 6 months. That, that's the gun I want. Let me give you, $1,000 to buy it, and then when I turn 18, you can just transfer it to me.
But the whole fact is the money came from Kyle,
Right.
and the ATF has determined that whoever pays for the firearm is the actual purchaser. There was a sting operation that just happened in.
But at the end of the day, I mean,
where
I
the
can
fuck
give
was
you
it?
$1,000, and you can go buy anything you want.
It
what I'm saying?
It gets into this weird gray.
yeah,
Let me tell you
it
a
is
quick
great.
story. I was watching a YouTube channel, and I want to look up his name, and I really forget what it was, but he was talking about this raid that happened at this gun store. I feel like it happened up in like Minnesota or some shit. Basically, it all stemmed from when these two ATF agents attempted a straw purchase. They posed as a husband and wife. They went in, and they were going to get like this, I think it was like a Browning Auto 5 shotgun or something. The wife filled out the background check, or the husband filled out the background check form, but then the other person paid for it, and they said that was a straw purchase.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The clerk said, husbands and wives, they buy gifts for each other all the time. Like, you go to a jewelry store, your wife picks out a ring and you pay for it. How is this any different? And that's what precipitated this, because technically the purchaser, the person with the money, paid for it, and he wasn't the actual person doing the background check. So it's like this weird gray area with the ATF and money and transactions. And
Yeah, I just think the immediate after is the deciding factor. Because, again, me standing on the parking lot and saying, like, hey, I'm a prohibited possessor. You go in, you buy me this gun, and you come out and you give it to me. That's a straw purchase.
Right, but also it has to do with intent. Kyle intended for this man to purchase a firearm for him. It wasn't like the guy just out of the goodness of his heart said, you know what, I'm going to buy this gun for this kid, and when he turns 18, I'm going to give it to him. And then maybe after, I'm going to sell it to him. That wasn't the original intent. The intent precipitated from Kyle outreaching to this guy and saying, hey, I want this gun. So that's where I think they can get him on the straw purchasing. Again, listen, this
I think
is just
they would try,
fucking
but I
splitting
don't
hairs
think that they have a strong case there.
No, they don't have a
really
strong
don't.
case, but this is how it all precipitated.
Yeah, I just don't think they have a strong case there at all.
No, and you know what? Like I said, it could even just be simple as this case where husband and wife goes in, husband pays for the gun that the wife picked out, even though she did the background check. That could be considered a straw purchase in the eyes of the ATF.
Right.
Which, common sense, people, like, come on. But again, hey,
I just
the
don't
law
think
is the
it's
law,
not a strong
and
case. It's not a strong case.
No, it's not a strong case, but that's what happened, and that's the idea of the straw purchase in that aspect.
Right.
So. I guess moving on from that, because everyone's kind of... You're either really for Rittenhouse, or you just think he's a racist or white supremacist.
I saw a lot of people post that, at the beginning they thought that he was, like, guilty. He went out and murdered these people, but then they watched the trial and realized that they were being lied to.
I haven't seen anybody.
I have seen a lot of people.
I haven't.
A lot.
Unfortunately,
I spend a lot of time scrolling on social media.
Unfortunately, all my wife's friends very few of them are not leftists, like hardcore leftists. So the shit I see them post on social media, I'm just like, oh my god.
God help us.
Oh my god, it's ridiculous, bro.
It's amazing. I was having a conversation with two corrections officers.
Yeah.
And this was during the trial. And I just happened to say to them, like, hey, so, like, what do you think about this Rittenhouse kid? And they were like, oh, he's guilty as fuck. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, dude, he had an illegal firearm or the shit. And I started explaining to him, and they were like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's not guilty at all.
Well, when you believe the propaganda that's
right,
spit out, again, crossing state lines, that sounds so sinister. Right, cross state lines. I crossed state lines the other day for work. I didn't have a firearm on me or anything, but I'm just saying people travel with firearms all the time.
Right.
You go to any airport that's outside of the New York metro area, and people fly with firearms all the time.
Right.
There's people that travel with firearms for work. I mean, dude, people go to SHOT Show in Las Vegas, and every manufacturer from across the country, every big wholesaler, importer, manufacturer, literally transports cargo vans full of firearms to Vegas.
Right.
Like, they cross state lines with a firearm.
Right.
Oh my god. As an SOT, a special occupant tax holder who manufactures machine guns, like an FFLO 702 with an SOT stamp, you could cross state lines with machine guns, and it's perfectly legal.
Well, how about this? Law enforcement officers in in the United States are authorized to carry their firearms throughout the entire country.
Right.
How many state lines?
State lines.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Like you can literally drive from here to California with a gun.
It sounds like people are like saying like they're bootleggers, like in an old Model T, like smuggling whiskey.
Just like it just
cross state lines with
I
Michelle.
think they try and push that it's really bad because you know how when like things go into multiple states, it becomes like a federal issue.
Right.
So like you cross state lines with a firearm. We need the big boys come in and
we need
get
the
them.
feds to come in and regulate.
Get them. The feds. The big bad feds.
It's funny. We're doing this podcast at night, and sometimes you could tell the difference between a night podcast and a morning podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, I worked all day. I have overtime tomorrow.
I worked all day too, my man.
I have overtime from 19:30 to 4:05.
Okay.
It's going to be cool, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Mr. Cuomo the Clown.
Oh, yeah, Chris Cuomo. Assisted his brother a little bit too much.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's heard by now because it's great. Yeah. But, I mean, look, we all know that Andrew Cuomo was kind of a dick.
Yes.
And he killed all the old people.
Yes.
And
signed the SAFE Act into law.
That too.
The most horrid trash piece of firearms legislation.
That's pretty
bad. Next to the 89 import ban and the 94 assault weapons ban.
Right.
And the 68 Firearm Protection Owners Protection Act and the Hughes Amendment. I mean, they're all garbage legislation. Let's just put it that way. But Cuomo definitely added his name to the list on garbage legislation.
Right. And then, of course, he had this whole scandal with grabbing fannies and killing grannies. And
I love that.
And
forgot about that.
Yeah. And his brother, Chris Cuomo, got himself mixed up in that shit, too.
Yeah. He covered for him.
He got suspended indefinitely from CNN.
Don Lemon is beside himself with grief. And he just is crying, and listen, man.
When you play with fire, you're gonna get
when
burned.
you go to bat for people that are really morally like corrupt, like Andrew Cuomo, that's what happens to you.
Yeah.
You know, you don't do the right thing, and you don't distance yourself from that. You're gonna get burned too, bro. And now
what's that meme? I might have sent it to you. It was the I don't even think it's real, but it was an Andrew Cuomo. It was like a picture of him on like the news at like his press conference, and below him it said like, "I'm not perverted, I'm just Italian."
Well, he said that.
Did he really?
Yeah. Yeah, because he tried giving the defense like, "Oh, Italian people kiss and hug and whatever."
I'm not. And then he goes, "I'm not a pervert. Yeah. I'm just Italian." Yeah. Is the greatest line.
Yeah, he said that, but he was using his Italianness
to
like subvert.
As an excuse.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh," and then he showed like a newsreel of him like hugging and kissing people. He's like, "Yeah,
which I think made it worse anyway."
Yeah,
like,
so a bunch of Italians are like, "I don't do that." Like,
I mean, Italian people do kiss, but like that's like you don't like grab, like you don't like call, your Italian grandma doesn't call you and your friends up to her office and like start grabbing your ass, like just that's
that doesn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. So like that. I'm sorry, Andy. You're wrong. But he got himself in trouble and he got his brother in trouble. Good fucking job. Yeah. The Cuomo kingdom is crumbling.
You know what? As it should, man. COVID opened up a lot of people's eyes to this bullshit, and it just shows that people in power who abuse that power can be held accountable.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody, but these guys kind of deserved it.
Yeah, but I also want people to be held accountable for their actions.
Yeah, right.
And that's ultimately,
Well, yeah, I mean, Andrew Cuomo definitely had to be held accountable. I'm not really, the suspension is like, conflict of interest.
Yeah, it's conflict of interest and it's optics. Like, does CNN want their, one of their lead people to be
here's
involved
what I
in
think. Okay, so he can't be objective because because his brother is Andrew Cuomo and he helped him helped him like
to some degree,
he helped him like
involved.
navigate how to deal with it. Dude, we already know CNN is like super left. So like, what are they really doing here? Like, they're not fooling anybody. Like they're not fooling anybody. We all know like they didn't do it because like we need to be objective and we
No.
need to do things the right
Doing
way.
it to
and-
save face.
No, yeah, I mean it's just like who are they? They're not kidding. Like who are you kidding? Like we all know you, CNN. We know you. But at the end of the day, I saw the news and I was laughing my ass off.
It's funny. My stepmother is a very leftist person. I mean, she's always been progressive. She's kind of a hippie, but since COVID, it's been really off the deep end since Trump. And she comes over and babysits my son sometimes, and she's like, "Oh, just before you go, just turn on the TV and put on CNN." I'm like, "Oh, the Commie News Network," and I always have like these: the Clinton News Network, the Commie News Network, all these fucking little acronyms, and she gives me this little eye roll, and I'm like, "Listen, man, you're in my house."
Did you see that? What's that girl's name? What's Epstein's girlfriend's name?
Oh, Maxwell, Gisela Maxwell. I forget
something
her
like
first
that.
name,
Did
yeah.
you see like that shit started, and then now we have the Omicron. All of a sudden, we have the Omicron, whatever.
Well,
the
they
fuck
skipped
variant.
G. They skipped G because they didn't want to upset China.
Yeah,
Because
XI,
Xi Jinping, the leader
which
of.
is just
I know.
so.
Well, listen,
left.
COVID. I know we're predominantly a firearms podcast or whatever, but we talk about COVID because unfortunately, it gets into your everyday fucking life, and it even has gotten into firearms because when the COVID pandemic hit, people were buying firearms in record numbers. So hence the correlation. But it's never going away, man.
No,
this
never.
shit, people who are fully vaccinated with booster shots are transmitting this new variant.
Yeah.
And it's like, but the left is saying, everyone needs to be vaccinated. Everyone needs to do this. It's like, well, what's in it for me? Like, it's not going to stop me from getting it. It's not going to stop me from spreading it. Yeah, my symptoms might be a little less, but I'll take the risk.
I was listening to Dan Bongino, and he got COVID.
Yeah.
And he's fully vaccinated because he's high risk because he has cancer or had cancer. I think he's in remission. But he was saying like he is fully vaxxed. I think he even got a booster, maybe, I don't know. And he got COVID, and he got it bad, like real bad. Like it doesn't prevent you from getting it, and it doesn't prevent you from spreading it.
Right.
So.
Right. I mean, just at my job alone, when COVID hit last year, I had 5 coworkers that got it, one right after the other. Boom, boom, boom. I didn't get it, but this was before a vaccine was out, and they were all right. And and I've had friends that got it. Some of them lost taste and smell somewhat permanently. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That fucking blows. But other people, it has no effect. Mm-hmm. Some people died, and that's really shitty too. But sometimes they've died of complications.
The people I went to high school with died from it.
Yeah, same here.
Right. So.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. It just hits everyone differently, man.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just if people have had tragedy in their life with it, I understand your grief. If you've had, like, somebody we know had a family member die of COVID. And
I know who you're talking about. You don't have to mouth it. Like
you looked at me like I had like, who?
No,
what?
Listening.
Okay. Well, somebody we know had a family member who died of COVID, and since then, this person has just been on a tear on social media, blasting, the whole everyone must get vaccinated.
Blasting me, you remember?
Yeah, blasting you and all this shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, my vaccination status has nothing to do with your family members passing. It's unfortunate. It was shitty. It was early on in the pandemic when they didn't know what was going on. They were putting people on ventilators, which they found out did more damage than good.
Yeah,
it was that nobody fucking knew what was going on, and it's unfortunate. And, if it's supposed to be a pandemic of the unvaccinated, but you could still get it when you're vaccinated, then what the fuck? Like this new variant in Australia, cases 2 cases were detected, and you can't leave or enter Australia without the vaccinations.
First of all, no one can come, no living thing can enter or exit Australia, and still it pops up there.
Right.
So
you can enter before this variant was detected. You could enter and leave Australia if you had a vaccination.
Right.
But when the news broke, these people already left South Africa, and there was actually a case in California, the first detected case in the U.S. because this person traveled from South Africa, and it doesn't make it any more deadly. This is the whole thing that people don't get. Just because there's a new mutation of this virus doesn't make it any more deadly.
No.
It just means that they've detected that the virus has changed its DNA.
Well, if you
look they could test it now.
If you look at long term, like other viruses, typically when the longer they go on, the less deadly they become. Right. Because a virus wants to live and reproduce. It wants to live. It doesn't want to kill its host.
Right.
That's why things like the common cold doesn't kill you.
Right.
It's just mutated over time and has become something where you get sick and you get over it.
Right.
That's it. And that's what COVID is going to become eventually. It's just going to be something that you get, and That's
yeah,
the
it's
end
going
of
to be
it.
like the flu.
It's going to be a common cold, right?
You could get the flu even if you have the flu vaccine. It just means that you're going to have less symptoms, or you're not going to have it as severe.
Right.
And people are fucking tired of hearing it. I'm fucking over it. I'm traveling.
Well, there's also no proof that this is deadlier.
No.
At all.
No, they say that this variant is not any deadlier. It's just the fact that they've detected a new mutation of the virus.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's any more deadly. It doesn't mean that it's any more transmissible. They've just detected that, hey, this virus has now adapted and changed. The Omicron. I am Omicron. It sounds like fucking like Transformer.
I think there is a Transformer called Omni.
Decepticon? Or
No, there's like an Omnicron.
I never watched Transformers.
I am Omnicron.
I'm not a Transformers
me either.
guy.
Yeah, me
but
either.
like, for example, I'm traveling actually in like 2 days. I'm going to California, and my relatives out there whom I'm visiting.
Tell your grandma I said hey.
Yeah, well, fuck. Anyway,
I saw your grandma at your wedding.
Yes, yeah, my grandma. I'm going to visit my grandma. I said relatives, but John said
who was it? One of our mutual friends was screaming on the party bus. Like,
oh yeah. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, I know. My very rowdy friends were screaming very inappropriate things on a bus, and my grandma and my aunt were out there.
99-year-old woman is just like listening to these men
well, now
scream.
She's 93, so at that point she was 89. Yeah,
still,
she's still old as hell.
Fucking listening to dudes scream about
getting your dick sucked.
Just crazy shit.
Yeah.
And like just screaming it. Like, I mean, they're loud to begin with.
I know. I got great friends, but we're a rowdy bunch of assholes sometimes.
And they are the rowdiest of them all.
Let me tell you.
Those two.
I love my friends. But yeah, so I'm traveling to see them, and the whole time leading up to this, they're telling me they're worried about COVID, they're worried about this, they're worried about that. I'm like, well, listen, like, if allegedly I'm vaccinated and I'm going to go to an airport and wear a mask the whole time, I should be okay, right? This is what our elected leaders and the scientists are telling us to do. So I should have no problems. I should have any issues with this. I mean, I'm going to be traveling with my 1-year-old, which is going to be a whole nother fucking ball of chaos. But
you're going to be that piece of
shit. Now, I'm hoping he's going to be all right in the plane. Listen, I'm going to pull out every bad parenting crutch. I'm going to let him play with my phone. I'm going to give him a shitload of Cheerios. We're going to like tire him out in the airport.
You buy him his own seat?
No, he's going to be a lap infant. But we did it so we booked an aisle and a window, so there's a seat empty in between us, and I'm hoping nobody books it. So I'm risking that. But listen, man,
gonna book it.
You never know. It's an evening flight from New York to Palm Springs nonstop. So Palm Springs, California. So
wow, what is that? Like a 10-hour flight?
No, it's like 6 hours.
Oh, jeez.
It's not bad. On the way home, it's going to be a red eye though, and overnight. So. It's nonstop, though. I'm very thankful. JetBlue runs a route nonstop from JFK to Palm Springs.
I flew to Arizona. We stopped in Chicago.
Yeah.
A long time ago when I was dating Janine.
Oh, man.
A long time ago.
Long time ago, dude.
Yeah. And that was great. That was a great trip.
Nice.
Long before COVID, of course. And
oh, my God.
Like 2010, 2011.
Bro, I was watching videos of concerts before COVID.
Yeah.
If you ever want to see the most amazing concert, I don't care who you are or how old you are. And I think I might have said this before on camera. I know it's a little off topic. We're going to get back on audio. Whatever the fuck.
On the air.
Yeah, on the air. We'll get back on topic in a second. But if you ever want to see the most intense fucking concert, it was Metallica live in Moscow in 1991. After the fall of the Soviet Union. It was AC/DC, Pantera, Metallica, and I think Motley Crue. They put on a free concert at this airfield in Moscow or outside of Moscow. Bro, 1 million people showed up. Literally 1 million. They said anywhere from 500,000 to like 1 million people showed up.
That is a big difference.
Dude. Because it got more crowded as the night went on. Yeah. But for Metallica, they said it was roughly like 1 million people, right? So it was the Soviet airfield. There was helicopters like flying overhead.
Yeah, I've seen video of it.
Yeah, and I'm watching this, and I'm just like, dude, like, this was life. Like, this was fucking freedom. People waving American flags.
Yeah.
Like, people were just going nuts. Soldiers were throwing off their hats and just fucking partying, and like, this was the world before COVID, man. This was the world before the fucking internet, for the most part. And I'm like, dude, take me fucking back, man. I was 1 at the time. Obviously, I wasn't at fucking Moscow and 1-year-old, but dude, if I could go back to any concert, like, Woodstock would be a close second, but man, fucking Pantera and Metallica in 1991 in Moscow, I would fucking love that. But yeah, just a side note. So pre-COVID world,
You know what's
was
crazy?
better.
Like they're coming out with all this virtual reality and
Yeah.
shit. You might be able to actually like go there one day.
No, dude, because you have to film it in VR and it's a fucking thing. And
Hey, you don't know, man.
I don't know.
Well, I'm not saying it's gonna look fucking exact, but
I don't
you
want to
may
live in a
get, like,
VR world, man.
you might get like a really
I don't want to live in the
cool-
metaverse. Oh my god! This is
You know, you
Mark
could
Zuckerberg's
buy-
I know. Oh,
you could
don't even
buy-
fucking get me started on that shit.
You could buy
know where you're going with
land
that.
in the metaverse. You
Dude.
should buy like 1,000 acres.
No. Because you know what? On my 1,000 acres in the metaverse, I can't shoot guns because
You
they're
can.
against guns. Mark Zuckerberg is a gun-free zone, and the metaverse is a gun-free zone. So fuck him, even though we use his platform, but whatever, everyone does.
Oh, jeez.
Fuck buying non-existent shit on the internet.
NFTs, bro.
Fuck, dude. I don't get that. I really don't. Oh, you own it? Even Joe Rogan, like I was watching a clip and somebody's talking about like an NFT. He's like, but anyone can have it. He's like, and this other guy's like, but you own it. He's like, but anyone can have it. Like what the fuck, man?
Well, anybody can have, a song too.
Right.
But somebody owns it.
Yeah.
And if it wants to be used in something that's going to produce income, like money, revenue, you would get paid.
So a pixelated digital gorilla is worth like $2 million.
No.
It's
But what I'm saying
ridiculous,
is
man.
the idea behind it is that it's a contract, and
No, I get
it's
that for
stored on the
things-
blockchain. So it's always like there's no way it would ever disappear. Like it's always yours. Every transaction is like saved in a way.
Take that money you were going to spend on buying a pixelated gorilla image, go upstate and buy 1,000 acres of land, and just live your life, man. Seriously.
But I could buy 1,000 acres in the metaverse.
And have Mark Zuckerberg's eye like Sauron's eye watching you all the time.
Yeah.
Ooh.
People are gonna live a whole. I mean, do you remember
Ugh.
Second Life?
I never got into that shit.
I never really got into it either. But Second Life is one of those things. It's kind of similar to that. You could buy land in Second Life. You could populate it, build on it.
It's
People would
depressing.
get like jobs in Second Life and pay rent, and you could cash out the Second Life money for actual U.S. dollars. So like, there would be like an exchange rate.
That's for people with no fucking life.
Yeah,
I'm
but there's
sorry.
like businesses that revolved around that.
Yeah,
You know,
I know.
it's crazy.
I know.
And that's really like the metaverse seems like a very like a whatever.
Anyway, I want to tell you a story. I think I told you about. I went to the range recently with a coworker, and did I tell you this?
Yes.
Okay. But I want to touch on something that Lisa had once told us when we had Lisa in studio about how sometimes people's perception of a first firearm is, oh, you got to get a shotgun,
Right.
and how it's not right for everyone.
Right.
I went to the range with somebody and he tried a shotgun there, right?
What kind of shotgun?
It was a Mossberg 500.
Okay.
Okay. The range only allowed you to shoot slugs.
Right.
So shooting the first time anybody's ever shot a gun, slugs is generally not the first thing you want to do, right?
Right.
So this coworker of mine, I was there mainly just to like show him how to shoot it, right? So I'm showing him how to handle it, how to load it, how to unload it, teaching him the safety rules. He takes one shot of this thing. He's like, dude, no way. I can't. This is not for me. I'm like, okay. Aren't you glad you came here and tried one before you went out and just bought one and just came here and could have hurt yourself? He's like, yeah, totally, 100%.
Mm.
So after doing that, he's decided that he wants a pistol caliber rifle.
Okay.
This is something that I want to tell people. And Lisa, when she was here and talked about how a shotgun isn't the best first firearm in a lot of cases.
Right.
Don't believe the hype that people tell you if you've never experienced it yourself.
Right.
Ask somebody who has firearms to take you out, take a class, take an intro class, and get familiar with it, because you can spend your money and hurt yourself with something that you have no business handling.
Right.
So at the end of the day, he decided, hey man, I think a pistol caliber rifle is perfect for me.
Yeah.
I recommended the PC9 to him. I don't have one. And it's just kind of like one of these firsthand things where it's like he was really grateful for the fact that,
he was able to experience
Right,
it
he was able to
before.
experience it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it makes sense.
yeah.
There's nothing worse than, well, you're not like buying something sight unseen.
Right, exactly. You
That's why
can't.
I mean, I buy so much shit off the internet now, but I'm just saying, like, back, like, I guess, like, when it, like, e-commerce first started getting, like, really popular, I was very against it.
Yes.
And I'm kind of still against a lot of it. Like, I don't like really, like, there's certain things where I'm just like, no, I need to go to the store. I need
Like
to
clothes.
see it. I need to feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even like, but now, I mean, I don't buy much in terms of clothing. And if it is, it's like I already have one of them. You just buy it from the same company. You know what it is.
Right.
But there's just some things where I need to go. I need to look at it. I need to hold it. I need to
Like
know that. I don't know. I mean, you could buy instruments off the internet.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something I would buy off the internet.
I've never
personally.
done that.
You know what else? I guess like this, like my recording equipment. You know, for me, I actually did end up buying a lot of it off the internet, but like it bothered me. It bothered me because like I couldn't like go somewhere, look at it, ask somebody questions, somebody who understood it. You know, this is before I didn't really know how to use it, and like, you know, shit like that. Like, it just bothers me. Office chairs.
Oh yeah, you got to sit in an
Fucking
office
the
chair.
worst thing. Office chairs. Just buy one online. No, motherfucker.
No.
I have to go. I have to
Sofas.
sit in it. Sofas. Right. Like,
Mattresses.
even like my keyboard on my computer. It's the textile keys. So they like have a certain feel and a certain click. Like, I had to go to a store and find that keyboard and like use just to know, like, yes, this is the one I want. Like, I couldn't do that. You know, I couldn't watch a YouTube video and be like, yeah, that's the one, and buy it.
Right. Well, I've bought firearms off places like Gunbroker and other things, and you do take a gamble. You do take a risk. You hope that the seller accurately represents the firearm. You hope you're confident enough in your knowledge of the firearm that you can make an informed decision based on pictures and correspondence alone. But somebody with no experience with a firearm and nothing, he hasn't bought a gun yet. He's like, I told him because Black Friday just passed, and there was actually a really smoking deal on a PC9. It was like $599 plus tax. And everyone else wants like $800 from him. So I said, dude, if you're gonna buy one, like, do it now. He's like, I don't know, I've never done this before. I've never gone to a gun store. This. And I didn't have the time to offer to go with him just because my life was crazy, you know, last week with the holidays and everything. So I said, you know, if you ever do want to go to a store, I'll go with you. But honestly, like, you've shot a shotgun. You know that's not what you want. I've kind of shown you the proper handling of a gun. Don't put your finger on the trigger. Don't point at anybody. Check and see if it's unloaded. You know, the basic safety rules like that. And honestly, the gun store clerk, if you say, hey, I have just almost no experience. I've shot a gun once. Maybe you could just show me how this works. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're there for.
Right.
Hopefully. Again, so a novice going into a gun store like that, you kind of get thrown into a little bit, but it's not such a bad thing. But I'm really glad he didn't just buy into people telling him, oh, you got to get a shotgun. Because he would have, like, I watched him shoot that fucking thing, and I'm like, all right, that is definitely not for you. It's too powerful. He's a smaller frame guy. He's shorter, and a 12 gauge, and I said maybe a 20 gauge or you know,
20 gauge.
Right, but if that's not something he's comfortable with, the last thing you want to do is pick up a gun that you're not comfortable with.
Right.
I mean, sometimes I do that with like old sketchy guns, but you know, I assume the risk in that.
You know what's another thing that people buy online now? Cars.
Dude, that is something you can't buy just sight unseen.
Yep.
You got to drive it. You got to look at it. You got to make sure there's nothing fucking wrong
my
with it.
My father-in-law, if I'm not mistaken, has bought a couple cars like on Carvana. Or
They just deliver it to your doorstep.
Yep.
Dude.
Never, you know.
I don't know, man. You got to really be.
I'm pretty
trusting.
sure. I remember him.
That warranty must be fucking amazing. Then
they lease, like, he's leased a car, I think, on there with like but you know, it's like they knew what they were looking for.
Company, I guess.
Oh yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, like, they knew what they wanted. You know, I mean, like, it's not like they were like, I don't know what I want. Let me just shop online. It was like, no, I'm looking for this vehicle. I already know I want it. I already know I like it. Let me look for the best price.
I've had like dreams of like maybe one day buying a deuce and a half M30. You know, M35A2.
You're still on this.
Bro, I want one really fucking bad. Dude, I sent you the thing with like tanks for sale.
Yeah, I know.
Bro, it's fucking great. 125 Gs for that armor personnel carrier. Bro.
That's it?
I know, right?
000?
Only.
No
people
problem.
buying NFTs, some digital fucking bullshit.
You know what? If you
can buy a
if you
fucking
bought
tank.
$100 NFT today you might be able to sell it tomorrow for $1 million.
To some fucking sucker. I don't know, man. I'm not sold on that bullshit. And I even cryptocurrency, man. It's like, it's a great idea. I see the concept behind it, a decentralized currency that can't be controlled by any government or whatever, but ultimately it can.
Yeah.
And that's a fucked up thing. And if you pour a lot of money into this, it's just, you got to hope that some other guy wants to buy that shit from you for a higher price than you paid for it.
Because it's got no actual value other than that.
Right. Well, technically the U.S. dollar doesn't anyway, but
well, yeah, technically
there's no difference in that.
Right,
but
right.
At least the U.S. dollar is backed by the U.S. government.
Right.
And as fucked up as the U.S. government is, if somebody fucks with us, we'll just go and steamroll their shit. You know what I mean?
Speaking of steamrolling, this Arizona
Oh,
cop,
man, dude.
just straight.
Oh, my God.
Dude.
Listen.
What was your reaction? Okay, let me lay it out.
Okay, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, because we watched the video.
You showed me the video for the first time. I heard about it,
correct.
but I never saw the full.
This guy was
video.
like going into a Lowe's. He was in a wheelchair. He had a knife.
It was one of those like electric like rascal scooters. Not even a wheelchair. It was like an electric rascal scooter.
Right.
And he had a knife in his hand. And there was a woman just inside the entrance to that. But it looks like honestly something at a South Park. Like. Dude. He's yelling, stop.
So basically, right. So the cops, or there's two officers, only one shoots.
Right.
The guy has a knife, and he's yelling at the person in this like motorized scooter thing. He's like, "Don't go in there, and then he just shoots him, just
9
straight,
times,
just shoots him
in the back, and then the guy just slumps over and is fucking dead.
So what was your reaction?
I mean, dude, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disturbed.
Yeah.
I've seen some shit, but that one is just like, dude. And I'm not gonna be one of these armchair quarterbacks like, oh, just shoot him in. Like, no, it's not that. Literally, he was in a rascal scooter. All you had to do was just fucking tip the thing over.
Yeah.
Like, just kick it over.
Dude, there were so many
that would have
things.
been a justifiable use of force.
You know what I was
literally
saying?
just kicked over the chair.
Yeah. You know what I was saying to some people? It's not even like, things aren't black and white, right? Like, you're taught as a cop. If someone has a knife and they're going at somebody or they're coming at you, whatever, you shoot, right?
Right.
Because it's deadly force.
Dude was rolling at 2 miles an hour,
correct.
bro.
But what I was saying was, it's not black and white. It's not, hey, that guy has a knife, shoot. It's the totality of the entire thing that's going on around you. It's, yes, this guy has a knife, but also, hey, this guy's in a motorized scooter. I could just power walk away from him and, like, he's not a threat. You know what I'm saying? So
you could chock his wheels.
such a bad shoot. If no one has seen the video, it's on YouTube somewhere.
It's bad.
It's bad.
Man.
It's bad. Fucking terrible. And this guy got fired, got arrested. He's definitely getting charged, and they're gonna find this guy fucking guilty. I mean, he fucking There's no way.
Because you know what, too, man. Like, even before, the guy has a knife. And again, I'm not one of these lefty like armchair quarterbacks. Oh, you should have done this, but like. Honestly, escalation of force. The guy has a knife. His mode of transport is slow.
Right.
Was there a taser?
Right. You
need
to.
You know what I mean? Like where?
Dude,
what's the escalation?
I was
of force
saying
there?
to someone that like literally like because people were saying like, well, they could have maced him or they could have tased him. I'm like, how about the guys in a fucking motorized wheelchair just grab his arm and fucking take the knife? Like,
a knife is really dangerous at close. You know what I mean?
It is close range, but this guy has limited mobility. He can't fucking walk. He's not hopping out and fucking running at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why you shoot. Because someone at, I think it's 21 feet
can get to you in like 2 seconds or something.
Can get to you before you could draw your firearm and shoot the person. Yeah. So in that case, that makes sense, and that's why you're trained. Hey, if there's a guy with a knife running at you,
motherfucker
you
in a
shoot.
hover round ain't
you
really
shoot.
much.
But this guy was not. And you know what? Another thing, he was scooting away.
Yeah, from the
away.
cops.
Yeah, he was scootering toward a woman, but she was watching him and was just like, "Sir, don't come in here."
She stood there as he got shot. She didn't even
she was
run
probably
away.
Fucking just
shocked,
in shock.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah. That's another thing. Like someone pointed out, they were like, he shot in the direction of her. I'm like, yeah, well, he shot down though.
That's not even a concern at that point, bro.
Dude, like this. I mean, that's a straight execution style.
Yeah,
like, he just stood there like, oh shit, I just shot this guy. Like, yeah, you did. Like, you fucked up.
Even if you just shot him once, like, but he unloaded into the dude.
Yeah, he shot like 9 rounds, right?
Yeah,
and then like one for good measure in the end. He did, dude. It was like
shit.
pop, 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 pop. Pop.
Oh, I missed that one.
I was like, oh. Look,
I don't know.
I have no problem highlighting when a cop does some
Oh yeah, no, you have
dumb
to.
shit.
You have to call it like you
Right.
see it,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, there are mistakes that are made. Like I said
Yeah.
earlier, there are miscarriages of justice. The justice system is not perfect, even if
Yeah.
it's justice on the street by an officer. Because in that moment, executioner, that's what it was. And I'm
Yeah.
not one of these people that just says cops execute people. That is not what I'm saying at all. In this particular case, from what I saw, it was not warranted. It was not
Right.
justifiable.
Right.
So again, this does not apply to all law enforcement out there. As anyone probably knows, we're pretty.
We're pro law enforcement, but
Yeah,
like this,
pro law enforcement.
but we're not pro bad law enforcement.
No,
And
I have a healthy distrust of government, but I'm for the guys that are doing the job.
Yeah. and I have a pretty long, I guess leash on, or I guess what is it? I don't really even know how to say it.
You give a lot of benefit
like
of
a
doubt.
long wick on
Yeah.
on my candle of did this guy do something
Right.
wrong? I like to play devil's advocate. I like
Right.
to point, could have been this, could have been that. Nah, this I can't even. I can't justify it at all.
Right.
So I'm interested in how that court,
Oh man.
how that case is going to play out. I mean,
Dude.
we know how it's going to play out, but I would really like to. I would really like to watch to see his testimony if he even testifies in his.
Yeah.
He probably won't.
Yeah, that's fucked, man. Well, apparently, a lot of law enforcement officers, a lot of politicians view guns as a problem. And
Well, they are in the wrong hands.
they are. They most certainly are. One last thing that I want to get in quick, because we're almost at an hour here, but one last thing I want to get in quick is how, from what Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, was talking about the current case in the Supreme Court, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, where they're suing for the shall issue for New York State. Politicians and a lot of these elected officials, politicians, and law enforcement aren't distinguishing between lawful firearms and illegal firearms. Huge difference. A lot of people are saying that there will be so many people with firearms, and there's already a lot of people with firearms, and this. But what they fail to recognize is that a lot of those are illegal firearms. Legal gun owners are not the problem. And I want people out there to make sure that they're not being misled by this bullshit that's being spewed.
Yeah. And people are also under the impression that if the Supreme Court overturns this, then all of a sudden the next day every single person in the world is going to have a fucking gun in their pocket.
No.
Like, it's not how it works.
There's going to be lawsuits because they have to change the rules.
And not only that, it's going to be, shall issue if it does get overturned, but there's going to be a long process.
Right.
They're still going to make it almost impossible.
Right.
And they're going to be very stringent with your paperwork. You can't have any mistakes.
Yeah.
It's going to take fucking months to years to get, there's ways that they're going to work around preventing you from getting it.
Especially in the boroughs.
They will use everything they can against you. You get a traffic ticket, they will use it against you. You get 2 traffic tickets of, say, a blatant disregard for the law. Right. He's not, he shouldn't have a firearm.
I read posts on the NYGunGuys subreddit, and people, a lot of them are saying, "Oh, I'm a Suffolk resident, and it's been over a year since I've even been contacted." And everyone's like, "Just get an attorney." Like,
yep,
that seems to be the common thing. The licensing bureaus drag their feet because they can, and they know that a lot of people aren't going to.
They're also understaffed.
Understaffed, dude. It ain't even that. You know within fucking 5 minutes if a person is prohibited from not possessing a firearm. They could run your shit. They can. Okay, granted.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not shall issue here.
Well, no. But legally, there's a definition. There's a statute in the law that says the whole process has to take 6 months. Now, the maximum 6 months. Now, some police departments interpret that as 6 months from when the process. Well, it's from
when they start their investigation.
Right. So,
correct.
Which could be when you get your fingerprint. Okay, you hand in your application now. Your fingerprint's a year from now.
Right.
What?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And even then, a fingerprint is a 10-minute fucking thing, and they charge hundreds of dollars for it. Again, the process. If this case is found to be in the favor of gun owners and self-defense, it's going to be a long time before shit's even rectified in the state. There's going to be lawsuits. They're going to have to change the law, basically, because, the statutes that said, have to prove a thing, have to prove a good cause. They're going to have to change that. That's going to have to go through the state. And that's going to take a while. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It'll be a great thing if it happens because they'll have to change it. But again, people's misconceptions and a lot of these politicians that immediately, if this is overturned, then there's going to be so many guns in the subways.
There's going to be bloodshed.
Blood, and it's going to be the Wild West.
No.
And it's like, no, that's not how this fucking works. And these politicians are constantly, purposely, I think, putting in illegal guns with legal gun owners. And even during the opening statements in the Supreme Court, they were asking, well, how many illegal firearms are in New York City? And the guy was like, probably a lot, you know?
Right.
And so that's one thing I just wanted to point out to everybody is that don't believe the bullshit that they tell you. Think about it for a minute. And if people are telling you, hey, you know, there are going to be so many guns on the streets, I don't want to be in the subways with firearms. It's like, first of all, you already are probably, you know, whether they're illegal or not.
Oh, yeah.
But secondly, if you were a person who works in a really bad area, has to
you know
take
what I was
public
saying?
transit
I don't
home.
want to be in the subway with people with guns. Really, you don't want to be in the subway with people with guns. You don't want to have somebody. You don't want to have a good guy with a gun sitting next to you when someone walks on the train, starts fucking stabbing somebody.
Or like that woman that was sexually assaulted on the subway. I think it was in Philly, and nobody did anything. Some people just took out their phones and started recording.
Someone was just fatally stabbed in the subway, like in Penn Station.
Damn.
Dude, you're telling me you wouldn't want a good guy with a gun there to save?
Or
what the fuck are you thinking?
Right.
What are you thinking?
Not even for that person's life, but your own life, if you think about it.
In general.
Right. You know, regardless if somebody else gets stabbed, you have to think about yourself. And if that person's coming at you, you got to defend yourself.
You know, it's there's a really funny video out there. You might have seen it. It's a guy on a New York City subway, and there was something happened, and they're like holding somebody down, and he's screaming for the police. He's like, police, police.
I never saw it.
Where are you? Police. And they're like, you know, you're never here when we need, like, some like crazy shit. I'm just like, this is like, it's kind of like what it is. Like, you don't realize you need the police until you need them. You don't realize that you need a gun until you need it.
Right.
And nobody wants police around until you need a cop. And then it's why you're not here. Like, you're here every other time except for now. I got to find that video and send it to you.
And the deeper thing behind this Supreme Court case is not about the firearms. It's about your right to self-defense.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court recognized that you have a right to self-defense inside the home, which means you could have a firearm inside the home, a handgun specifically. But now this is for the right to self-defense outside of the home, the right to keep and bear arms, which is clearly defined in the Constitution.
You know, I had a conversation with James about this.
Yeah.
I hung out with him the other day.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
The fuck,
so,
dude?
yeah.
You gotta tell me that story. How that came to be.
No.
I thought you wrote that guy off.
No, Kyle I wrote off.
Oh,
but it's so it that doesn't matter for the story.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this, and he was saying, and I was saying, like, look, like the government has the burden. You know, they have to prove why you shouldn't have a gun. Not why you don't have to prove why you need one. And he was just like, yeah, well, I understand licensing and things like that. I'm like, yeah, of course. He's like, you need to get a driver's license, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But
I hate that fucking argument.
Well, no, but so that's what he said, right? We have discussions like this. We play devil's advocate with each other, so we're just having a discussion. So he said, well, you need a license before you can drive a car. And I said, yeah, but the government doesn't say, prove to me why you need a car. You pass the fucking test, you get the license, and you do what you do with the car. It should be the same way with a firearm. The government doesn't say, prove why you need a car. And then you go, well, I need to get to work. And they go, okay, well, prove it.
Prove that you work.
Right, correct. And it's the same way. That's how it should be for a firearm.
Oh, you don't need a car that could go over 55 because that's what the state speed limit is.
Right, exactly. Right, exactly.
Or unless you want to run down people in a parade with it, but whatever.
Right. So, and, I said this to him, and he was like, yeah, it makes sense. But that's the whole thing. Like, yeah, okay, like, but you don't need to prove to the government why you fucking need a car.
Yeah.
That's the rebuttal to that.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Well, that's all we got time for today.
Pretty much, my man. Yeah, I mean, we haven't put out an episode in a while. It's been a little bit busy with Thanksgiving and everything. Happy Hanukkah to all my Hebes out there. What's up?
Yeah.
So
happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, I'm actually quite excited because when I go out to California, I'll be celebrating Hanukkah with my grandma.
Oh yeah,
which we haven't done since I was like
all 8 days.
No, just we do dinner for one night. It's too much. She's 93. So we're going out there to cook and do everything. So, but we but the last time we did that, dude, I was like 14. We haven't celebrated Hanukkah with her in like fucking years.
You're a bad Jew.
Well, no, it's because she didn't live here. I mean, I'm a terrible Jew anyway. I didn't know when Hanukkah was. My wife, when we had dinner over the weekend, she's like, tomorrow's Hanukkah. I'm like, no. she's like, I'm a better Jew than you, and she's
Yeah.
an Asian chick.
Yeah.
So it's just funny, man. Like, listen, life
funny.
gets crazy, but we want to thank everyone for listening. Also, like, people who listen who don't even live in New York, and they reach out to us, and they message us. And if anyone had gotten some cool shit on Black Friday, firearm related, post it on the Facebook. Let us know, man.
Yeah.
I love seeing shit.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
All right.
That's
Well,
it.
Facebook, Instagram, NYGunGuys, and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can find a podcast. Oh, someone reached out to us and they asked if we were on what?
Oh, yeah. I said...
What was it?
What the fuck? It was like, iHeartRadio.
We have to look into
And
that.
yeah, I have to look into that. I don't have an iHeartRadio account. I
Yeah,
don't have
me
that
either.
app, but
Right.
we should be on there. I mean,
Maybe.
usually Spotify and iTunes covers like 98% because a lot of people have Spotify for like Android or whatever.
Right.
And a lot of people have iPhones, so they automatically have the podcast.
Right.
So,
All right. Well, check us out, and we will see about iHeartRadio.
yeah.
As always, we appreciate everybody tuning in, and stay safe.